You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Joe Venosa.
Hi, welcome to Open Agenda. This week in the House, we've got Ms. Trish Melvin from Fruitland, Mr. Jim Atkins from Mardella. Thank you for being here both. So we've got quite an episode because we are devoting it almost exclusively to the issue that has been in the news recently, which is, of course, the decision by the council to discontinue the Lord's Prayer at the start of county council meetings. This is an issue that has obviously divided the community and certainly is all over social media, as everything else seems to be these days. And what I'd like to do is we actually have our friends, Mr. Joe White and Mr. Joe Scafino, and I'd like to bring them on for a battle of the Joes and sort of talk a little bit about their differences in that decision and maybe get into why it happened in the way that it did, but maybe how could it have been handled better, perhaps. Do a little bit of a counterfactual. So I'm going to bring them on in a minute, and then we're going to get into that. Would you guys maybe be willing to stick around for a bit, and then we'll come back?
Sure, I want to hear what they say.
All right. Thank you both. Stick around. We'll be right back with our next segment of Open Agenda. Welcome back to Open Agenda. In the studio with us is Mr. Joe White from Parsonsburg. Welcome,
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
And, of course, another Joe, Mr. Joe Scafino, right here from Salisbury. Thank you, sir. So, gentlemen, we're going to talk about an issue that obviously has engendered a lot of debate and intense disagreement in some cases. And it's certainly an issue that is, once again, putting our little county on the map as far as media coverage. And that, of course, is the recent decision by the council to discontinue the Lord's Prayer as a result of several other things that occurred in the past few months. So there's a lot of views on it, and there's a lot of concerns in different ways. And you guys are both on opposite ends of that debate. And so I'm curious what your thoughts are. Just if we could kind of start it from the basic principle of, okay, the prayer is now gone. How do you feel about it? Let's start there, and then maybe we can backtrack.
Well, I'm glad you're going to, because I think they're two different issues. I'm not happy that the Lord's Prayer has been taken off. More importantly, this has not been addressed by President John Cannon. It was just simply left off of the agenda with no explanation, no opportunity to have an invocation. This is something that's 150 years of tradition in Wicomico County. I don't understand that part. Even if I could agree with, I don't want to see the county get sued by some outside group.
Okay. So, Joe, what do you think about the issue?
Well, number one, I understand the disappointment of the number of people that enjoyed that. But again, when I attended my first council meeting in 2024 and they recited, I recognized immediately that's not permissible. But I didn't say anything. Okay, I'm just let it go. And it wasn't until this past September when Councilman Wynn. And again, I believe he had good intentions, but once he started reading from the Bible and saying he was praying for people who weren't Christian, he crossed the line.
I brought something important here today, that we've got some people in this audience and in this council that are trying to figure out what is going on in the world. Why is this happening? Why the craziness, right? I hear it up here, and I'm telling you, it's because people were falling away from the Word, from Christ. And it's actually, everything's right here, the answers. This is truth. You've got the beginning, you've got the present, and you've got the ending written right here. It's all here. It's already in 2 Thessalonians, where there will be a falling away. And I have a few scriptures that I'd like to read. And I just want everybody to really think about this. I know not everyone here is a Christian, and that's okay. I'll pray for you. And, there's only one way. There's only one way. And that's through Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
And that's what caused you to want to work with the Freedom from Religion Foundation
and the Americans United for Separation of Church and State.
Okay,
Yes.
But Councilman Wynn, him reading Bible verses, he took his time to do that. And I think 5's just too many. I don't think it's effective. But that's what he decided. And at the end, I was there. I was at the meeting. I saw how many folks got offended when he said, "Look, if you're not Christian, I'll still pray for you, and there's only one way." But that is a separate issue from the opening Lord's Prayer. And I do appreciate the fact that I know you've been going to the meetings for well over a year, and you hadn't said anything. But in this last 4 months, since those comments were made to this last meeting, there's been no public discussion, and that is very frustrating for folks like myself who choose to recite it every meeting.
Well, and again, the fact that council president and even the council solicitor, who I would think should have known better, that they didn't stop, tell them, wait a minute, that raised the concern for me that maybe this council doesn't understand the concept of separation in church and state. And an elected official sitting in a public meeting, anything he says is considered government speech. So by reciting the Lord's Prayer, that's considered an endorsement by that governing body of that specific religion.
Could I just interject on one point? Because this has been brought up by some people in the community as well, that the Lord's Prayer is kind of traditionally used because it is sort of, for lack of a better term, the most inclusive as far as faith, because it sort of doesn't necessarily single out. Again, I understand that's debatable, but I'm just explaining that is one argument made. Do you think that the council genuinely knew that they were dealing with an issue that was legally questionable, or that maybe it was tradition, nobody ever complained about it before, and it was a kind of live and let live thing until Mr. Wynn's actions kind of took it in a different range?
But I would go back to which piece are we arguing here? Are we arguing, and we've talked about it on the show before, are we talking about the ruling from the Fourth Circuit Court that says that government may not lead the prayer? Doesn't mean it can't be there. Doesn't mean it shouldn't be there.
Exactly.
Or are we talking about Councilman Wynn and his comments during council comments? Because I think that's really what set some folks off, but that's not the remedy we've come up with, or that has been brought on to us.
True, but it again, it got to the point where the separation of church and state again, and we were the only county in the entire Fourth Circuit that was still doing that.
You know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So and the last two cities that challenged that, one was in 2013. That cost that city $125,000 in legal fees. And the more recent one was 2018. That was the city of Parkersburg in West Virginia. That cost the city $58,000 in legal fees. So the council, they did the responsible thing by eliminating the prayer. Now, just because the prayer is eliminated, and just because we're enforcing the separation of church and state, doesn't make me or anybody else anti-religion. Because, as I said in my letter to council, and the letter from the Freedom from Religion Foundation said, it is perfectly fine to have an invited clergyman. That has been the tradition in our country since the first Congress, and I have no problem with that.
And I don't see why in the last 4 months, because the meeting that upset Joe was from September 16th of 2025. So we had 4 months to come up with a solution. And the reason why we had covered it on the show was to bring public awareness about some folks' concerns about it. There's been no remedy. And I'll be honest with you, I'm really disappointed in the county council for not having been more forthcoming in public. And I'm looking for them to do that at the next meeting.
I think, sorry to jump in, but no. I think you are on an important point, and this is maybe part of why we're looking at it a little bit differently. It's not only the Lord's Prayer, but it's the fact that the Lord's Prayer was essentially the collateral damage done by James Wynn's actions.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't changed the fact that at the next county council meeting, Councilman Wynn can choose to still read Bible verses. Whether
Correct.
you can agree with that or not, I don't think that if that is the crux of what some folks have had an issue with, I don't believe that's been addressed, whether I agree with it or not.
And that's a separate issue.
Okay.
And that's also debatable. Most of the court decisions that I've read, including Fourth Circuit ones, strictly deal with the recital of the Lord's Prayer by a council member, an elected official.
So what you're telling me is that theoretically, if somebody on a council gets up and they read passages from a Bible or a Quran or a Torah or the Bhagavad Gita, whatever, that legally speaking, we don't really know where that sits? Or do we have a sense?
We have a sense that it's not permissible because, again, the courts have ruled that an elected official sitting at a public meeting, anything they say is considered government speech. So if he's reciting from a Christian Bible or a Jewish Torah or a Muslim Quran, that government official is favoring one religion over all the others. So it's an exclusive policy. So if it went to court based on what I see, it would be struck down.
And my biggest fear is taxpayers' dollars being wasted on a very expensive lawsuit that may not ultimately lend itself to be in favor or even address the issues at hand. That's where I worry.
And I think that's kind of the essence of what the council's response, at least up to this point, has been, was that they recognized that it was more than likely, well, it was certainly going to be an expensive court challenge, but it was more than likely going to be a losing one, too.
Well, President John Cannon finally did come out with a press release this week.
Correct.
And that finally addressed part of it. It's just, why is it so late?
And also, the timing of that is, to your point, it's late, but it's also reactive to what the county executive had been doing, because she had gotten on her Facebook account, I believe a few weeks ago, and made a pretty long...
No, it was recent.
Was it recent?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was relatively in the same line of time of this debate, where she got on Facebook and made a pretty long rant kind of going after the council, but not really explaining to the public what actually happened accurately.
I feel her frustration, and some of it's the same that I feel.
Yeah.
But again, she was aware that this happened back in September, and you're looking for your local leaders to lead.
Yeah.
And to me, someone who's been actively participating in government for years now, we weren't led. We were. It wasn't transparent, and it was just done ad hoc.
Yeah.
And now press releases and social media posts coming out are merely reactionary. And
well, and I think to some extent, we can't separate the ideological view of the issue from the politics of this, because I feel, this is my thought in seeing what's been going on, that people are using this to make political hay, particularly from my perspective from the executive's office, because I feel that the decision to step into the public prayer debate now, late, to your point, the executive was utterly silent for months about this issue. She never addressed it, never talked, never responded to constituent outreach from what it seems, and decides to do it now. Okay, why?
I don't know.
Well, I think I know why. Okay. And I think, simply put, the veto override of the auditing bill, which I believe is going to lead to some interesting discoveries, is something that, whether it's conscious or unconscious, she's very worried about. And I think she's going into this religious prayer issue as a distraction. Now, that's my view. Maybe I'm wrong.
We've seen other distractions, most certainly like with the landfill and funding a Fruitland primary. I don't know, but at the end of the day, I think just all of our elected leaders just kind of left a lot of us in the lurch.
Right, but I just want to add, the county executive, again, she jumped in late. She made some uninformed, and I would even say ignorant, remarks, criticizing council, number one, for bending the knee for one person, and that affected 104,000 people. So she's assuming that everyone in the county supports her position, and
except for you.
Except for that one person.
I can assure you, my son does not support the county executive.
Okay, but what's interesting is she makes no mention of consultation with her solicitors, either Mr. Wilbur or Mr. Illuminati.
The legal team has been quite quiet on this
Right,
issue.
and I'd be willing to bet that they would agree with Mr. Benson and the council's decision. I mean, again, we were the last city, county in the entire Fourth Circuit that was reciting the Lord's Prayer. The council made the responsible decision. I think her legal people would agree.
I will agree with that. I would love to hear what her legal department would have to say to see what our options are. But more importantly, I really hope that we have every option on the table for what the go forward is, what that is allowed in the Fourth Circuit.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see at the next council meeting, and probably a few more after that, sort of what this does as far as citizen reaction and outreach and impact, and whether the council, or maybe specifically Councilman Wynn or anyone else, is going to address about it, because I don't think this is going away as far as a topic of discussion. I think it's one of those red meat issues for a lot of different people. And to be fair, it is an issue that matters to some people quite a lot, whether it's to keep it or not.
Well, there were three options. There were three options that the other counties and cities in Maryland do. They either invite a clergyman to do an invocation, or they have a moment of silence, or they simply do nothing. And they go with the pledge and then into the meeting. So those are the three choices that the county has.
Well, I think we're going to see something along those lines
Right.
in the future.
Yeah.
So, well, gentlemen, I appreciate your time
Thank
on
you.
this. This was very informative. I'm glad we can, debate these very complex issues from different views in a very civil way.
Agree to disagree. Agree to
still be
agree.
friends?
Still be friends. Hey, look, in the end, we're all still Joe, right? All right, thank you so much. So we'll be right back with our next segment of Open Agenda, and we're going to have on, I'm going to bring back, Mr. Jim Atkins and Ms. Trish Melvin. Stick around. Welcome back to Open Agenda. Back in the studio with us is Ms. Trish Melvin from Fruitland, and of course, Mr. Jim Atkins from Mardello. Thank you. So we had quite an interesting conversation between our friends Joe White and Joe Scafino. They obviously have very different views on the matter, and I think it was good that we got them to kind of talk about not only where they're coming from, but maybe why the failure to address the issue in the past has led to this situation we're in now. But what do you think about what's going on right now, generally, and then maybe where things are going to go?
Wow. I think it's much ado about nothing. I mean, why does the county council feel it has to reinvent the wheel? Look at what the city's doing, inviting different clergy folk in to speak. We should start that right away. I know that there is a tradition of opening with the Lord's Prayer. Let's continue it. Let's get a priest in, a rabbi, a preacher, an imam, etc., and circulate and rotate them in for a prayer.
So basically go to the default that Salisbury has had for quite a while. Different invocations by different faith leaders.
Has that been a problem? I'm not aware that that's been a problem in Salisbury. It seems to satisfy the legal.
Oddly enough, that's probably the one thing in Salisbury city government that isn't in crisis right now. Is the process of just getting somebody to come in for an opening prayer.
Well, then it's a good model to follow.
If you've seen a city council meeting, you need a prayer to start those meetings. Mr. Jim, what do you think?
Well, I understand what Trish is saying. My only concern with having a rotational part is you then open it up to any religious group that wants to come in and speak on a rotational basis. And most religious groups are very God-fearing, supportive people. There are some religious groups out there that are not. And when you open it up like that, you cannot prevent those people from coming in and saying things which could be very divisive for this county in different ways. I just, if we're not going to be allowed to say the Lord's Prayer, which I fully support, that we did, I want to make it clear, I'm very disappointed that we've lost the ability to do that. But then to me, the moment of silence is the way to go, to let everybody do that.
And so basically that moment of silence is its own prayer for those that want to engage it.
Each person can do what they want during that moment. They can say whatever prayer is appropriate for them, or they can stand there and just stand there for a moment and not say or do anything.
Well, what do you think about that, Trish? Because, you and Jim seem to have a pretty different view about how this could play out with having different faith representatives come in and give an invocation. He actually sees it kind of as a door to possible kind of chaos and disunity, even more so. But you're saying that actually this could be a way forward. I guess maybe I don't mean to put it back on you too much, but do you think Jim's idea of at least having a respectful, neutral moment of silence?
Certainly, that would be my second choice, to having I mean, so many members of the community have spoken out that they miss the Lord's Prayer. I realize that if you get different faith leaders in there, that could introduce elements that we don't want of concern with citizens, right or wrong, and I don't know how to get around that. It merits a lot more discussion, I guess.
But it's unfortunate we're in this situation.
Yeah.
And I really think that this situation arose not only through the comments that Councilman Wynn made, not the Bible verses. They were fine.
Sure.
It was the comments after that, which I took offense to, and a lot of other people took offense to. But I think we got in this position because I know myself and I know other people and other council members that emailed the council president to address this issue when it happened. And that address never occurred. And they kind of get into the fact that it's not a personnel issue, but they don't want to reprimand a council member in public. Well, I agree with that, but I also agree that if the council member is going to offend the public, then whatever action needs to be taken to address that needs to be done in public so that the public knows something happened and something was done.
Yeah, I think that concern about what didn't happen after that September meeting has been ringing in a lot of people's ears. But of course, we can't undo that now. And so I think this is where sometimes when we don't address issues, they fester. And I think we're kind of dealing with that situation. But nevertheless, that is kind of unrelated to the fact that we've also seen people try to politicize and sort of,
Exactly.
you know, I don't want to say fundraise off of it, but essentially do that in the sense of they're trying to build political capital out of it. And I think, from my perspective, that's one of the most kind of disappointing and shameful things is because people seem to be using, for lack of a better term, identity politics in ways that don't address anything that we're really dealing with in the county in day-to-day life.
Well, it took me aback a little bit with the executive's Facebook post concerning the removal of the Lord's Prayer from the council meeting. I'd like to propose a solution to her at this date and time that she can address this. If she is so taken aback and offended by the removal of it by the county council, then we're in a budget season. We're in an election year. Put a referendum on the Wacomico County ballot whether or not you want the county council to fight this legal battle. And are you willing to put in the budget supposedly $1 million or $1.5 million for attorney fees and then fight this battle? To me, the ball is in her court. If she wants to fight this, then let's fight it. But she's got to realize that if you're going to put in a budget $1 million or $1.5 million to fight this legal battle, because we know how the Fourth Circuit is going to rule based off all their previous rulings. So it's going to go to the Supreme Court. And that's not going to happen in the next 2 years. That's going to take a lot of lawyers and a lot of years to happen.
Well, and I've actually heard that it could be way more than $1.5 million.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
There are people that have told me that it could be just under 3 if you really look at the precedent in previous cases.
So if you're so upset and you don't agree with this, then put it before the community in the county. Like I say, this is the ideal time. We're right in the middle of budgets. We're in an election year. Put it on the ballot. Let the community, the citizens of the county, vote on whether they want to do it. And put it in the budget. Now, the only problem that she'll have in putting it in the budget is she's going to have to take that money from some project that she has planned in the county. Because the money should not come out of the general fund, the savings account. It should come out of something else is going to have to be done away with in order to fight this battle.
Well, she's never been shy about busting the budget before, so it would be curious if she takes you up on that offer.
Well, there's the offer, and that's what I think, the solution is. If you want to fight this, let's fight it, but don't just get on Facebook and pontificate about something that you're not going to address.
Well, that's kind of my point, is that was an acting performance. Not that it was particularly good.
And not only that, then you had the radio interview with it that she went on, and you could almost see the same acting view.
Well, it's literally the same talking points. But again, which is interesting to me is people that are not typically religious in any way, shape, or form, or certainly have acted in my opinion, quite a Christian manner. Love to play. They love to cosplay when it's election time. But to your point, she has a solution to this issue.
Yes,
she can. And again, like I want to be clear, this executive, for as much as she likes to align politically as a MAGA Republican, is no stranger to the Democrats in Annapolis when she needs something and makes that point with her various photos and public meetings with the governor. And her spending habits, I'm just saying this from fiscal person, she has exploded the budget in her time. And so what's $3 million more if she really believes that Christianity is under attack? I mean,
yes.
It would certainly be a public platform, but among people I've spoken with, they find it very distasteful to see religion used as a political issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The county has flown under the radar on this issue for many, many years. This issue only came up and got to the point it is because we had a council member, James Wynn, sit at the table and talk about praying for people who were not Christians, and that there was only one way. And I believe that, but that's not what the government is here to do. The government's here to take care of our lives. The religion is our personal thing that we take care of ourselves with.
Okay.
So that was the law of unintended consequences kicked in.
Exactly.
Well, I really appreciate your insights on this. Again, it's certainly a political hot potato, but it's also a complicated issue of values and interpretation, and obviously the Constitution, which we're always debating. Thank you for watching Open Agenda. We'll be back next week. Take care. Hi, welcome to Open Agenda.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Sorry.
I know it's hard.
I know it's sorry. All right.
Cut.
Keep ready. Yeah.